All right, welcome back. Thanks for Rolling Podcast. Coming to you from a Friday night, which never happens. I'm your host, Jeff. I am here with my co-host, Pat, as always.
What's up, Jeff? How you doing?
Evening. How are you?
Doing great.
Pat, we have a big show today.
Tonight we are joined in studio by my sensei, John Botello, all the way from 10th Planet, Phoenix, Arizona.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Made the long trip out here to the frigid Northeast.
It ain't that bad. I thought it was gonna be worse, but it ain't that bad.
You've been lucky. We've had a few periods recently where all of a sudden it was freezing ass cold, but now 30 I think is okay for me. Like I'm like, all right, 30, 40 degrees, I can make it. So yeah.
Well, Pat saved me from that because I told him I wanted to come out sooner, and he's like, "Are you sure it's gonna be snow? It's gonna be really cold." I was like, I'll take your word for it." So yeah, I told him whenever he was ready. So
yeah, I think we talked back in like November. And I'm just like, we should give it a few months.
Yeah,
yeah. Let's get through the push. Yeah, that's good. Good plan.
Yeah, even what is it, March 4th? Mm-hmm. It's a little risky. We have snow on the ground. It could have been 0 degrees. It just snowed last week, but we got a nice window in the weather for you. I think tomorrow is going to be like mid 40s.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Lucky. So we have. I was just saying to the guys before we actually kicked off here that we actually have adult beverages in the house. Want to give a little shout out to your brewery here that you're drinking?
We're drinking the finest beverages from the Broadbrook Brewing Company in Suffield, Connecticut.
And I have Tinbridge Brewing Company in Westfield, Massachusetts. So we got what flavors do you have there?
I have the Chewbaccanator, the Doppelbock Lager.
Great name.
It's got some Chewbacca artwork on it.
Right now we're going to get flagged for not demonetized because you brought up Chewbacca.
I have the beer, the peach, which I guess it means beer of peach.
Peach beer.
Yeah, it's from the Broadbrook Brewing Company.
That's a really good one. It's
Belgian blonde ale with cinnamon, vanilla, and peaches. It tastes pretty good.
That does sound good. And I have the Sour Hour number 12, which I don't really know what's in it, just that it's supposed to be sour. So anyway, just like highlight that for a little Friday change of pace.
Some local small businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Giving them the push. So.
Well, we started 3 minutes ago, and mine's half gone. So
nice. Well, we have a whole fridge here.
Right
Perfect.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good beer.
Starting off the right way. Yes. Yep. Good call.
So we've been waiting on this podcast for a while. We've done a handful of podcasts over Zoom, and it's fine. But when it came to trying to get John on the podcast, I was content to wait until we could get him out here in person. I think it just goes a lot better in person. The Zoom thing gets a little glitchy. You get a lot of talking over each other because you have that little lag. So you don't have that cue when the person's in front of you talking.
And then when it's spaced out a lot, like it just seems weird. Like people are having like a uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah. The silence that's there. Yeah. Plus you can't have adult beverages.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as fun, at least.
So I just picked up, what time is it now? It's like 7:00. I picked up John a couple hours ago, stopped at home, ran to the gym here. We just went up and invaded Ryan Santiago's Friday night class. It's usually my Friday night class, but he's covering for me tonight. Actually, we get up there and Nate was teaching his, that north-south choke, kind of halfway darce thing that he's been showing people.
Mm-hmm. We used to call it the reverse arm triangle, the rat.
Okay.
That's what we used to call. That's why I asked him if he put his hands together when he did it. But I like how he does it. It's a good little for his body type. It works.
Nate has a lot of really neat stuff. So he's a purple belt. He's been training with us coming up on 2 years. So he was living out in Utah and moved back here.
Nice.
Basically right during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And his brother's 4 kids have been training with us for a long time. So
awesome.
He joined the team. He's got a really funky game. It works really well with his body style. He does a lot of weird shit that he said from the beginning, everyone's always told him it was wrong and don't do that. And he crushes with it.
Yeah, it works.
Some of the most miserable roles I've ever had in my life were against him. It's unbelievable. Nice. Miserable. Where you're like, just get me out of here, please. Can I be done?
Yeah, he's one of the only guys I've rolled with in recent history that's made me almost panic from being mounted. It's just, it's next level.
That that's kind of what it was like rolling when I first started jiu-jitsu. Was like I tell the guys in my school, when someone's passing your guard and it's uncomfortable, it should feel like, oh, you mean if I let you pass, it'll stop hurting? Yes. That's what it's supposed to feel like. So it's, I would say he's on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been pushing that concept a lot, make the person want you to pass.
Make them so uncomfortable that they just want to give it to you just so it'll stop hurting.
Yeah. I don't want to get like too far out of the lane here, but John just stopped up to, when they stopped up to see the class, I walked up and, you were giving a little bit of instruction, then talked about that essential thing, right? And Ryan made a comment about cooking, which I think we might have talked about when PJ was here, right?
Cook the beans.
And I've definitely noticed that some of the older, maybe even some of the bigger guys are definitely trying to take that to heart. Like I roll with that guy Ryan all the time. He's probably my main training partner, and definitely will say to each other afterwards, like, "Yep, you cooked the shit out of me then," right? Like, definitely no. Or I hear you say it, like, just cook them. You got 1 minute left, just cook them. Like, and it has made a huge difference, just from like a mental perspective of like, all right, let me just. I can't keep up with those youngsters like you were talking about, right? Like the athletic guys, like a Jameson. I'm like, I can't do this. I just have to hold on to him and make him as uncomfortable as possible. But it definitely has made a difference, I guess is my point. Like that concept of, well, afterwards we'll just be like, like frying them up,
But like cooking's one thing, because sometimes cooking can be looked at as stalling.
Yes.
So what I would say to somebody that's learning how to do that is like try to play with angles when it comes to cooking, because a certain angle will have a certain effect. So if you're just laying flat on them, great, you're on them. But if you turn your torso or your ribs and you drop your ribs on their neck or like on their shoulder, that might create more of an effect. And then Ryan, your main training partner, can say, hey, when you did that really sucked.
Yeah.
And then you could say, okay, I'm going to start playing with that. And then you start experimenting. So don't just use it to use it. Use it with kind of like a purpose of like experimentation, because they're your best critics. Like they give you the best critique of your game is, hey man, that sucked.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start using that.
Yeah, thank you. That's good advice. Yep. Appreciate that.
I know when I have like students rolling with each other and I hear one person go like with that breath. I'm like, you're doing it right. You hear that? That means they didn't like it. Keep doing that, and they'll keep doing it, and they'll mine some gold out of it.
Yeah.
I pointed that exact thing out to Sunshine last night. I don't even remember exactly what we were doing, but he made a movement and his partner made that the exact sound, and I pointed out to him, you hear that sound he made, and he's like, what? I'm like that.
Yeah. You want more of that. That's like, to a comedian, that's laughter.
Yeah.
Like to you, that as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, you want that. Because
that's a great point.
If you can always make them feel like that on a consistent basis, all you're doing is you're wearing them down.
Yeah, those are great points. Yep.
I've rolled with people and they said, every time that you put pressure on me, I just want a turtle, which is great because I want your back. So that means my game in itself is going down the path that I want it to go down. It's developing in the way that I want it to go down. So I've always loved being on the back. So if you want to turn and get on your knees and give me your back, great.
Yeah, that's good points.
So taking a step back, how did you find your way into jiu-jitsu? I'm going to ask you a lot of questions and stories that I already know, but we'll get it out there for the people.
It's okay. Well, growing up, I was always kind of decent at wrestling. Like I remember there was a friend of mine, we called him Cujo. His name was Sergio. He was a skater, and he did judo and he did jiu-jitsu. And all I ever knew about wrestling was you put him like in a cradle and you put him on their shoulder and you count 1, 2, 3. That's all I knew with WWE. So that's what I did to him, but I did it consistently. And he got pissed off. He would get pissed off. He'd get mad. And in my head, that always kind of stuck with me. Like, oh, I might be okay at this. And then, fast forward 10, 15 years, I'm in the Navy. And I took my best friend, Carlos Figueroa. I took him to an MMA event called Shogun. And it was a Frank Shamrock production. So he was the promoter of the event. And I took him there and I was like, oh, this is kind of like what I used to do with Sergio. It's like kind of like WWE, but it's not. And I had seen the UFC before, but I didn't really dive into it as much as as the rest of the people that I knew. I just kind of saw it as, fighting. And then I actually talked to Frank Shamrock, and I was a Ken Shamrock fan. So I was like, oh, that's Ken Shamrock's brother, and I got to meet him. So I went and I talked to Frank, and Frank was like so cool. And I thought that they were going to be like unapproachable. I thought they were going to be like WWE, like very ego and like characters. And I thought they were going to be, assholes. And Frank was very, very cool and very open to talking to me. And he actually invited me to party with them after. And I was like, I can't go party with you. My wife's right here, So
around what year was this?
2001. I remember some big names were there, like Chuck Liddell was there, and he wasn't the Iceman yet. He was just some MMA fighter. Huh. Robbie Lawler was there walking around in a Kung Fu outfit. I guess he was a Kung Fu guy at the time, and it was like his second professional fight, I think. And the Tap Out guys were there selling at a table. They weren't even rich yet, So it was like very early on, as far as like jiu-jitsu before it became mainstream, or MMA rather. And and I just remember being very intrigued and very like, I felt like I was being drawn to it. And the next day, after I met Frank, because he was so cool, I was like, well, I want to try this. So the next day I went and I sought out. I looked in the yellow pages for Relson Gracie, or for jiu-jitsu. And I found Relson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and it was downtown Honolulu. And we were there, and I remember I scheduled a trial class with my buddy Carlos. We went, we tried it out, and I just remember Relson always complimenting him that he was doing it correctly. Perfect. He was like, exactly, my friend, exactly. And me, he'd be like, no, not you. And then Carlos would do it, exactly. And then me, no, not you. And then he would always correct me, and I was like, man, I'm never going to get this. So yeah, that's how I got drawn in. I went to see that MMA event, and I felt like I was like, oh, I want to try this. So I went and I tried, and I signed up. So
Relson was
my first.
Was
instructor.
Was he around like 50 at that time?
I think
40s?
so. I think so. He was like in his 50s, maybe late 40s, early 50s. Yeah. But he always had these cute local girls with him. I'm just kidding. Gracie's are you can edit that out.
No, there's no editing, John. You're in.
Okay, so yeah, but yeah, no, they procreate a lot. So I'll say that.
Yeah.
So Relson was like his late 40s, maybe early 50s, and one of my good friends, Steve Hordinsky, was training there. He was a brown belt, and he's actually a black belt in Colorado now. And we linked up maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago. He came to my school.
I saw that.
We hadn't seen each other for 20 years, and we rolled. And back in the day, he would mop the floor. You could probably still mop the floor with me today because I'm a little guy. But we had a roll, and it was like, jiu-jitsu is so great because even if you don't see somebody for a long time, you still have that connection of jiu-jitsu. And even though we hadn't seen each other in a long time, we rolled, and it was just great. It was good times. It was good vibes. And he's actually the guy. He's actually the guy that when I was going to quit jiu-jitsu, he gave me one tip, and I stuck to jiu-jitsu till today. Like, because I was on the verge of quitting because my friend Carlos would always use, like, he always says he was using technique, but he was using strength. Mm-hmm. As a little guy, I'll always say you're using strength, but he would sometimes tend to use strength because he was bigger. So like he would can opener me in my guard, and I didn't know that you could armbar him there. So I armbarred him once, and then from then on he started standing up, and he would just shake me off, and I didn't know how to get him back down. So Steve showed me a shin sweep. He's like, you grab the ankle, you put your shin here, you pull the shin, and then you extend, and he'll fall. And when I started doing it to Carlos, I had like I had an answer for what he was doing. And that one thing Carlos was doing was going to make me quit jiu-jitsu because I thought a little guy was supposed to beat a big guy. I thought I was supposed to have a chance, and I didn't feel like I had a chance with him. And then when I did that one little thing and it worked, I was like, oh, there is a way, So it kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities, and I told Steve, thank you for that, because I said I was gonna quit. I was a white belt. I was gonna quit, and you helped me that one day. You brown belt took the time to help me that one day, and I stuck with it. And 20 years later, I'm still doing it.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Those tiny little moments that probably didn't mean much to him at all at that time. Exactly. He was just helping out the new guy belt on the mats.
Yeah, and that's why there are times, and I'm guilty of it, and we're all guilty of it. Is sometimes you feel like you might, I don't know, like, I don't want to say that you're wasting your time, but sometimes you feel like, I don't want to help this guy.
Mm-hmm. He probably gave out 99 other tips to white belts that went nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say thank you to him for that, because he took the time to help me.
I think that's a powerful lesson for
anybody,
for everyone, as they're coming up, to always offer that piece of advice.
Take that second to help. Yeah, it's really important, because to you it might not be nothing, but to them it's everything to them. Like they really need help. And sometimes as a white belt, you don't want to go ask the higher belt.
Right.
You don't want to bother them.
So that was in Hawaii. You were in the Navy.
I was in the Navy, and then
so the Navy sends you places.
Yeah. So then, so the Navy sent the Navy. I was on sea duty then, and then everybody in the Navy, they tell you, well, the Navy always do shore duty. You need to go do shore duty. So I took shore duty in San Diego, and I wanted to make sure that there was jiu-jitsu there, because I could have went closer to home, but there was no jiu-jitsu, and I was like, no, I need jiu-jitsu. So
and home was Texas,
Corpus. I could have went to Corpus Christi, and my wife at the time, she wanted to be closer to home, but she said she didn't want to be that close because she didn't want them visiting every weekend. So close enough to where we can visit when we want to, but not close enough where they can visit all the time. And I said, okay. And then it ends up we go to San Diego, and then she misses home so much, she goes home, and then the divorce happens. But she's a small part of this story. So the divorce happens, and then it's settled and it's done. But I still continue training, right? And then Carlos, who I started jiu-jitsu with, gets his blue belt from Relson in Hawaii. And then I started training with Fabio Santos in San Diego. And then Fabio was part of the Relson Gracie Association. He was a black belt under Relson. So I would sometimes make the drive to LA to seek out Relson's teaching. And well, okay, so then I'm training with Fabio for like a year or so, and then I get my blue belt, and I got my blue belt from Fabio, and then what's it called? And then I'm with Fabio for a little while, and then I have my daughter Jacqueline, and then Jacqueline's born, and then I take a little hiatus from jiu-jitsu, and then I end up moving to Arizona. I get out of the Navy and end up moving to Arizona. Or I'm sorry. Let me retract. Let me digress.
So real quick, as you're digressing, for the listeners that aren't familiar, at that time training with Fabio Santos is Dean Lister.
Yeah.
Jeff Higgs.
Yeah.
Jocko Willink.
Yeah, Jocko's there. Jimmy Sanchez is there. There's so many people.
And what are, at that time, they're what? Purple belts, brown belts?
Yeah. So I don't remember what Jocko was, because Jocko was there every now and then. He was always quiet. And he was always quiet, but he was a big guy. He was just quiet, and he would just be over there. He would be training, of course, but Jeff Higgs was there. I remember I rode Jeff Higgs once, and he just annihilated me. and I don't know if it was just, but he would roll hard with everybody, and that was just his style, And I never took it personally. But yeah, that's how some of the brown belts were. And I remember there was this Korean guy, and he owned a bunch of Wiener Schnitzels. I forget his name, but he trained with Fabio, and he was always getting privates. and that guy, he would hurt people. That guy, I don't remember his name, but I know somebody out there listening knows who this guy
They know
is.
who they are.
And I remember when I was in the Navy, I had break. I was in Point Loma, and I drove by, and there was a Wiener Schnitzel, and I stopped, and he's in the back stalking, and I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "Oh, I own it." And I'm like, "What?" He didn't even give me a discount like that. I was like, "Damn it!" But yeah, so
I think that's just some good context because obviously everyone now knows who Jocko is.
yeah,
Everyone in jiu-jitsu knows who Dean is. And
Yeah.
then a lot of people don't know who Jeff Higgs is, but he gave Dean his black belt,
Yeah.
who gave Jocko his black belt. So at the same time,
Yeah,
that's where John's training.
I was there when all that was going down, and it made me feel not awkward, but it just made me feel like, damn, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, they had a weird falling out.
Yeah, it was a falling out, and I just felt like it was so much happening at a school where I was like I didn't know that all that could happen. I didn't know that all that was involved in jiu-jitsu. And it's because Dean was doing no gi, and he wanted to do no gi. Fabio wanted him to do the gi, and that's just how it goes sometimes at some schools. And I respect all of them, but I mean, you see, Dean went his way and he did his thing, and he cemented in history.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was right around the time he won his first ADCC.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. So I was there about 2003. Well, yeah. So I left Hawaii in 2003. So then, I was there in 2004. So it was right after Dean won, 2003.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So Dean was already training by himself. He had his own spot. But yeah, Dean would be there, and Jocko would be there, and there was another guy called Dr. Muscles. I forgot his name. He passed away, but I can't remember his name. But he had a son that trained there too. Jimmy Sanchez, Jimmy's a black belt under Dean too. He was there, and he would always leg lock me. Tino Martinez was there. Tino, I caught up with him when me and him started touching base when Eddie was going to fight Hoyler again. We bet a rash guard, and he never paid me. Well, because it was a draw, but we all know who won. It was a draw because it was like, all right, if Eddie wins, you give me a rash guard from your school, and then if Hoyler wins, I'll give you a rash guard from my school.
Nice.
All right, and then, okay, cool, and history happened. I mean, it happened. We all know what happened, but I never got my payment.
So did you start training with Eddie when you were still in San Diego, or not until you moved to Arizona?
No, when I was in San Diego, I was training in the gi, but I just felt like maybe it was just me it was me being me kind of like feeling like I felt like I was being stagnant. Like I felt like I was just doing the same thing over and over again for me. But maybe it's because I was attacking the same way over and over again. Looking back with like new eyes, I look back and I say, well, maybe I was just doing the same attacks. Maybe that's why I started getting like kind of uninterested in the gi. And then a brown belt in there in the school, one night he twisted me. And I was like, what was that? And he said, it's the twister. And I said, where'd you learn that? And he goes, this guy in LA named Eddie Bravo does it. And then that name stuck with me. I was like, Eddie Bravo. Okay. And then I was driving to LA to try to get the chance to train with Hickson, but Hickson was so infrequent. His schedule fluctuated so much because he wasn't really at the school because his son had passed away a few years before, and he wasn't there. So it was hard to get lessons with him. And then that guy, the one that twisted me, said, well, why don't you go train with Eddie Bravo? He's in LA. And then I was like, okay. So I set it up for my birthday to go train with Eddie. So I went to train with Eddie, and I thought he wasn't going to show up. And then he showed up. He walked into the back of the bomb squad with his backpack. He was
20 minutes late.
Participating in some of God's cabbage. And he came in and he taught swim move to spiderweb, arm crush. And I think he taught Silverado as well. But I still remember the first class of what he taught me because he was so like he was kind of like militant. Like he would just call out the move, he'd call out the number, and then you do the move, you do the number, and just step by step by step, and it really stuck with me the way he taught. And I said, "Oh, this is cool. I like this." And then I never went back. I never went back to the gi. I just stayed. I wanted to just do no gi after that.
So that was the very beginning stages of Eddie teaching, right?
Well, that was the first body he taught at. So this was like 05 when I met him.
So he was, what, a couple of years in? He started his school in 03.
Yeah, 03 or 04, he started his school. And then, so 05 is when I met him. And, I've considered him my instructor ever since.
Were you, did you end up moving to LA or did you travel traveling back and forth?
No, I would travel back and forth. And I would, every now and then I'd go up there, but he always thought I was one of Dean Lister's guys. He's like, "You're Dean's guy, right?" And I said, "No, man, Fabio." He goes, "Same thing."
I can hear him saying that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. But he always thought I was Dean's guy. And then my goal initially was, first he's going to know who I am. He's going to remember who I am. And then I'm going to get a black belt from him. And then both happened. So there were no other schools other than LA. And I was just in Eddie's ear. Like the first night I met him, I was like, "You ever think about doing affiliates? If you want to do affiliates, I'm interested." And look as an instructor now, looking at it, I was like, "Man, that was kind of bold for me to do it."
Who's this guy?
Yeah, I don't even know this guy, and he wants to be an affiliate. So, but I was down. I had a buddy of mine, and we would just drill. Eddie had the book, the first book, not Mastering the Rubber Guard.
Jiu-Jitsu Unleashed?
Jiu-Jitsu Unleashed, the first one.
It's the only one I don't have.
He had that one out, and me and my buddy, who also trained with Fabio, don't tell Fabio, he also trained with Fabio, and he had some mats, and we would like do the twister, and we would do like the rubber guard, and we would do stuff like that at his house. And we didn't know if we were doing it because right because the pictures were so like broken up in the movement.
And that one was black and white, right?
Yeah. And Joe Rogan was okay. And the pictures were so broken up that you didn't know, like, you're like, "Oh, but how did he get here?" And whereas Mastering the Rubber Guard was like so much well put together, so well put together that you could actually flow into the movement and be like, "Oh, okay, I see how it goes." But yeah, we didn't know if we were doing it right. So that's why I was like, "Well, I'll just go up there and train and bring it back." And I started showing him, and we would just drill.
So how many people are training with Eddie in a class at that time?
I don't know, like I remember like the pro fighters would be in the back, like by the punching bag. Like it was like Jason Chambers, Connor Hune, Epstein, all these guys were back there. And then like the lighter guys were in the front, like with Eddie. Eddie would roll with everybody too. I would say in the class there was like 22. And I remember they would throw the mats on the floor, and they would put mats around like the ellipticals.
They had like the accordion mats, right?
Yeah, and they would put them around like the stationary bike and the mirrors. Yeah, so that people wouldn't run into them. But yeah, it was a good time. You really I like that jiu-jitsu because it was pre-internet. So in order to learn someone's style, you really had to seek out that master. Mm-hmm. Whereas now you just flick a button, which is okay. It's okay, but I really feel like you have to feel it. Because Marcelo could tell you, grab the sleeve here, and Marcelo's grip could be like a gorilla, and then he'll say, grab the sleeve here, and it won't work for you because your grip hasn't been as developed as Marcelo's. So it's really something that I feel like you really have to feel. Yeah, that's why when you see Eddie's books. When you see Eddie's books and he's clinching on somebody, yeah, he's close to them, but you don't feel like
you got to feel it.
Yeah. It's just like, yeah.
Had you? When did you get out of the Navy?
I got out of the Navy in 2006.
Okay, so you're still enlisted at that point when you're.
Yeah, I'm still enlisted. And I'm working the day shift. So after I get off of work, I would drive up there, or I would train with my buddy. And we would just go over the moves that we learned. And yeah, we would just drill.
And you have your blue belt at that point?
I have my blue belt. Yeah. And then I ended up moving to Arizona because I got out of the Navy. I ended up moving to Arizona, and I was just driving through. I was going to drive back to Texas, and then my sister convinced me to stay in Arizona. So she's like, if you go home, you're just going to end up in prison or dead because you're going to hang up with the same people that you were hanging out with when you were younger. And that was the whole reason why I joined the Navy, was because I was like, I need to get out of here. So I got out of there and try to make myself better, and then I'm just going right back into that mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
You land in Phoenix.
I land in Phoenix. Yeah, I drive to Phoenix, and everything just falls apart. It felt like it fell apart.
You had this consistent thing. You were training with your buddy. You were driving up to see Eddie. Then you moved to a new state.
Yeah, and I get there, and my sister says, well, you can stay with me, till you get on your feet. And I said, great. So I got a job stocking groceries overnight at Bash's. And it was funny because the guys didn't know that I knew Spanish. They would like be talking shit about me in Spanish, and they would put me in the freezer section. And then one night I just when I got a second job, I got another job as a security dispatcher. And when I quit, I just walked off like cussing them out in Spanish, and they were like, "What?
Oops.
This guy knows how to speak Spanish." I'm like, yeah, I kind of told him a few choice words, and I walked off. And then I got this job as a security dispatcher for a company, and I didn't know where anything was. I didn't know where nothing was. I was like, they're like, we're over here, and I'd be looking like on Google Maps. It's like, I'm over here, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know where the fuck that is. I don't know. So I'd just be looking on the map, and I couldn't find it. And I'm like, bro, you're going to have to call somebody else. We need a gas station. We're running out of gas, and I'm on the corner of this and this. I'm like, I don't know. He's like, you're the dispatcher, dude. I was like, I don't know. I just called to check in on you guys and make sure you got water and like everything's all sat and everything. He's like, yeah, everything's good. To make sure you're good, I do welfare checks. I don't know where the fuck you are. And then the guy's like, so the guy complains to the boss, and then I hear that they're training my replacement, and they don't tell me. So I just got got annoyed, and when I hear this, my boss, the guy that's my boss, is coming in. I'm coming in to relieve him, and he had already done like an 8-hour shift as dispatcher. And I said, "So you're training my replacement?" And he's like, "I'm like, why didn't you tell me?" And he's like, "Well, I didn't want to cause any friction between us or this and that." And I said, "Have fun working 16 hours." And I just walked out. And then I just really started. I had put a little money away, and I just really started training full time. And at this time, I was training with somebody who I don't really enjoy mentioning, just because we had a pretty good falling out. But if it wasn't for the fallout, I wouldn't be teaching. So, so in order to tell the story, I have to say it. So I was training with this guy named Eddie. Okay, his name's Eddie Sanchez. I was training with him, and he owned a school. He had a program, and it was inside of a gym called Seton Gym, and in that gym he did an all no-gi program, and I was like, oh, it's all no-gi, let's do it. So it was the only school in the valley that was all no-gi. So I drove pretty far to train with this guy, and then so I trained with this guy for a while. I ended up getting my purple belt from him, and then he. I don't know what happens. Some personal issues happen with him, I guess. And he decides to start distancing himself from the gym. He's like, I'm going to open up another school. I'm going to be over here. So then the gym asked me, hey, do you want to teach? You're the next highest ranking guy. And I said, sure. I don't want to drive another 20 minutes. I want to drive an hour. I'm already driving 45 minutes one way. I don't want to drive an hour one way. So I start teaching there. And this is when I start finding my own way as an instructor. So, and then I developed my own program, and I called it Deep Impact Jiu-Jitsu. And I kind of wanted to stay on the space vibe a little bit. So then I started Deep Impact Jiu-Jitsu there at Seton Gym. And then And then I was doing that for about a year and a half. And then Eddie had come out for 1 or 2 seminars, 2 seminars for sure. And after the second seminar in 2007, he said, 10 Planet Phoenix he gave me the blessing. And he's doing it different now where you got to do like, I don't know, you got to do you got to know the warm-ups. You got to have like 10 wins and competition and all this other stuff. So I became Eddie's first affiliate. Well, it's kind of weird with that because I think maybe somebody else might have had the green light before me, but I think maybe Fort Worth might have had the green light before me, but I think his school was being built. But my school was like the first up and running. Like we had the website the same day. We had all that boom right there, boom. And I think his was still being worked on. But
I run with it and just tell everybody you were the first.
That's what I say.
Yeah, good enough.
I always say that.
There's no red tape. You were
ready
to go.
I know. But I just, just in case. Just in case. I want to tell the story the way it is. But yeah, so I was the first up and running 10 Planet affiliate outside of LA.
And for a little context, there's 130, 135, something like that now.
Yeah. And a few have come and gone that we thought were going to be like mega schools. And I'm just happy that in my business practice, I've always trusted my gut. Like I didn't do a business class or anything like that. I just always trusted my gut. And if something felt right, I did it. And if something didn't feel right, I didn't do it. And it's just, I've always just done that. Maybe it's street smarts from when I was growing up in a not so great neighborhood, but it just always felt like I don't care what this guy's doing. If it's working for him, great. But if it feels right for me, I'm going to do it. If it doesn't feel right, I'm not going to do it.
That's how you live life without regrets in that regard, right? Like it's hard to regret something you knew didn't feel right at the time. Like,
yeah. And later on it might, but at the time it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So the expansion since I started training with you has been crazy. I can't imagine what it feels like for you. I think when I was with you in Phoenix, there was maybe 20 something affiliates. I remember they all fit in a t-shirt, nice and easy. And when I got 10th Planet Fairfield affiliated, we were like number 70 something.
Yeah.
And then I think a year and a half later, when I got Springfield affiliated, we were already over 100.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's hard to remember everybody's names.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know how Eddie does it. He's so good about it too.
I know.
I pop in his school after 2 years of not seeing him, and he remembers. He knows.
And that's one of the things that I always admired about Eddie is that he has a relationship with everybody where it's like from what I've been told, some affiliations are just like, give me your money. I don't care who you are. Just give me my money so you can use the name of my school and all that. But Eddie has a relationship with everybody. So I tell him, I was like, first I wanted him to know who I was, and now he knows who I am, and he could pick me out of a crowd, which is great. It's you couldn't ask for more. He's always been somebody that I could, well, before he had married and he had a kid, I could call him at 3 a.m. and I could get an answer by 3:05. And he's always been very, very good about that.
So that was 2007?
2007.
So 2007, 10th Planet Phoenix is born out of Seton Gym.
Seton Gym. Thiago. Yeah, Thiago. Yeah, Thiago. He's the owner of Seton Gym.
What's really interesting about that is when I was teaching at 10th Planet Fairfield, we had this guy come through that was training with us for a while. He was a really good, accomplished Muay Thai fighter.
I know who he is.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, do you know John? He used to teach out of Seton Gym in Arizona. I'm affiliated with them out of wherever. And he ended up training with us for a while at 10th Planet Fairfield. And that was his Muay Thai team. He fought a lot. So that was a crazy occurrence there.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I remember him.
unfortunately, he ended up taking his own life not long after that.
Yeah.
It was a bizarre time.
Yeah, it was. It was. And
Because
then
I had just seen him shortly before that. He was training with us all the time in Fairfield. Really cool guy.
yeah, and they run a tight ship, that Seatown Gym. You know, they're very dedicated. They work hard. Like I've seen those guys, you know, train hard, and yeah, it was unfortunate that you know that he did that.
Yeah. It was a weird connection for me because I had just moved back here from Phoenix, so it's kind of like starting over again. And then the first place I'm teaching at, I run into this guy that connects the dots.
Yeah.
The world is small.
Yeah.
Right. John, I'm curious, like, when you knew that, I know you said, like, you know, you made that decision once you had moved to Arizona, like, all right, I'm going to train full time. But it seemed like you were pretty committed even at white belt, right? Like, when did you really know, like, oh, this is the shit I'm going to.
Because I get obsessed about things.
Yeah.
Like if I get into the guitar, I need like 5 guitars. I can't just have one. So,
Do you play guitar?
yeah, not very good, but I fiddle around with my guitar.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. But yeah, so yeah, I just got obsessed with it. I just wanted to like connect all the dots, and I see that like in a bunch of white belts, it's like they want to learn everything in one night, whereas you just have to give yourself time to develop and learn the moves, right? So in my head, I would just be like, I'd be everywhere. I'd be like on the ship, or I'd be walking around, and I would just be like, okay, if I'm in the guard and he puts his hand down, then I have this, I have omoplata. Okay, if he rolls and I get on top, I can go to mount, and then if he puts his hands up, I got arm bar. If he pulls his arm, I got triangle. And then I would just like trying to connect all the dots and make patterns, and I did that all the time, and it really helped in my development because I could see all these different pathways that I could connect and interchange within the system, and and when it came to 10th Planet, it was just learning the basic beginning. For me, I started with lockdown. So lockdown, in lockdown, it wasn't even about, in the beginning, it wasn't even about getting to a certain spot. It was just, I just want to get my feet in the right position. Mm-hmm. So once I got that down, getting my feet in the right position, I was like, small goals, just giving myself small goals. And then when I got my feet in the right position, then it was, all right, now let me get my hands in the right position. So then now it was just the feet always got that rep. And then the hands would get the reps. And then it was just putting it together and making my body move into the position that I wanted to get to. And then it's just building off of that, building blocks. Because the person isn't just going to let you do it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So thinking back on our timeline, so 2007, 10th Planet Phoenix is born, Seatown Gym. Where does it go from there?
Seatown Gym. So from Seatown Gym, let's see. Okay, so Seatown Gym. Okay, from Seatown Gym, there was a group of people. They were personal trainers. They wanted to open up a gym with me, and we called it Phoenix Fight Club. So we opened that gym, and that was open maybe a year, 2 years. But after the first year, I left, and I left because it wasn't what I thought it would be. So we kind of parted ways, and I went and taught at a ninja school, ninjutsu.
I have a note on my paper here for you to tell the story about fighting the ninjutsu guy.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't say his name, but he's still a really good friend of mine. He actually does jiu-jitsu now. He's full blown jiu-jitsu. He doesn't even do ninjutsu no more, which is great. But so he would come and he would train with us, and I remember I would twist him, or I would roll with him, and we would have good rolls, great training sessions, and then after I would tap him, I would always put videos up because I wanted to put content up, and he said, oh, please take that video down. I can't have my students seeing you do that, tap me like that. And so I took the video down. And he always came to me and said, hey, if you ever need somewhere to teach, I'm always available. You could come teach one night a week at my school. My students are always interested in learning some new stuff, especially on the ground. So then when we kind of had this contract issue with the investors, the trainers, the personal trainers, I called him and I was like, hey man, you still need an instructor? And he's like, yeah. So that night I went and started teaching at his school. I just like, boom. Because, bro, I got child support. At the time, I paid it all off, thank God. But at the time, I had child support. I was like, bro, these people are expecting me to live off of scraps, and I can't even pay my child support. So that was the issue. So I went and I taught at his school, and I was there maybe 8 months, a year. And then I moved to another spot, which was called XMA, Extreme Martial Arts. It was like the Blue Power Ranger invented it. So it's very acrobatic, and they do a lot of like punching the ground and stuff.
Where was that?
That was in East Mesa, way out like in Higley and something else. So way out East Mesa and then Higley and McKellips. So I'm teaching there, but it was just really hard to retain students because like I'd be teaching on like some mats that are off to the side, good spot, good space, good mat space, but they were always playing really loud music when they were teaching. So my students couldn't hear when I was teaching. So it was hard to retain students because they're like, man, I love the way you teach, but it's just hard to hear because they're playing the music so loud. And so it was hard to keep students. And and then I'm dating this woman and she says, why don't you just put in the paperwork for your own spot? And I'm a real big believer in like people come into your lives for like a reason and then they just leave, and I think the reason she came into my life was just because the universe wanted me to get on a certain path, and I wasn't going to put myself on that path unless the universe came in and gave me somebody to tell me. So her name was Laura, and Laura was like, why don't you just put the paperwork in? I said, what am I going to say? Assets, none. Whatever, none. I have nothing. And she's like, well, the worst they could say is no. So then I put the paperwork in and everything's 0, 0, 0. So I put everything in and then all of a sudden they come back and they accept it. I was like, what? She's like, they said yes. I was like, so then all I had to do was come up with first and last month's rent and then enough money for mats. And that's what I did. And so then in the beginning, I sold a bunch of memberships for like a year for like $500 or something like that. So I got a bunch of money not a bunch, but I got enough money to open. And then it was just about, I hope people come. So the people came and off we went. So we were at our old spot for 5 or 6 years, and then we got into our new spot.
So that's where I'd started at.
The old spot.
Yep. And
Small.
you were fairly fresh in that place, I think. It was definitely less than a year.
Small. Nothing on the walls.
I mean, it was bigger than my first place.
There was just a couch. There was just a couch, blue mats, and that was it. And then like there was like a little door that went to the back, and the back area was like, I don't know, 20 square feet.
It was like our old spot. You walk in the door, there's like this much place to stand, and then you're on the mats.
Yeah.
It's funny looking at pictures of that now, and I think like, man, we got so much space here. It's crazy. So when you're teaching at other places, are you kind of like, I don't know how this works. Are you taking the 10th Planet Phoenix name with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it would be 10th Planet Phoenix, but we would just be located in
At some place. Yeah.
And then you just pay for mat space, like for time.
Yeah.
So, like they give you rent. Your rent is X amount of dollars a month.
Yep.
And that's what we would do. And it was hard because, just to be real, some months I was paying my gym rent or my way was with my GI Bill because I wasn't making money, and it was hard. And luckily, the universe brought me Jennifer, who I'm with till today, 10 years. She's really helped me like become more more organized, and she really got me on a good path as far as like handling things like that, like taxes and stuff like that. Like all that's taken care of. And things have been good. And Eddie, every time he sees Jen, he gives her a big hug. He's like, I don't know how he was doing it. I don't know how he made it because it was bad. It was bad for me. Eddie tells people all the time, John had some dark days because it was hard. It was hard because I was still young too, and I was still living my life, but I wasn't. Sometimes my fun would outweigh my responsibilities, and
it's the way it is when you're young. I get it.
Eddie knew it. Eddie knew it. So, but I'm not afraid to admit it. But it happens, and Jen got me on a path where I became a little bit more responsible.
Yeah,
responsible in that way.
Yeah, I think you had met Jen. I think it was right around the same time I had joined the gym too. So it's been great to see the progressions over that amount of time, going from that place to where you guys are now, and
yeah,
it just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, hopefully
she has a good business savvy mind.
Yeah. It's on air, so it's true now. She's gonna we weren't
supposed to say that.
Let's give her a shout out.
She's gonna loop it. Yeah. No. Yeah. She's very good. Sometimes she's a little too much with the girl like decorations, and I'm like, it's still a gym. We don't want to. Not so much pink around. But yes, shout out to Jen.
That's awesome.
So, so we're in our spot now, and we've tripled in space because we started with 1,100 square feet, and now we're at 33 or 3,600 square feet. So we're doing better. We're doing better, and we saw that it used to be an old T-Mobile place, and we saw it abandoned. Nobody was in it, vacant for a while, and like 5 or 6 years. And we drove by it every day, and I was like, this is such a good spot. We could just get that spot. It's a freestanding building. All we did was talk to the landlord and get in there. Luckily, Jay, our landlord, has been really, really cool with us. And we've been there, and we plan to be there for the foreseeable future. But you never know. We might find something that we like better. But we didn't want to move too far from the old place because we already had people driving a good distance. So we didn't want to leave like more than 5 miles in any given direction, just because we didn't want to lose the people that were already driving far.
Yeah, we juggled that same dilemma when we moved over here. I think we're only 7 miles from the old gym, but it's on the other side of a highway and the other side of a river that has limited number of bridges going across it, so it adds significant travel time if you're coming from that direction.
Yeah.
But I mean, we lost a couple of kid students because the parents didn't want to bring them anymore, but I don't think we lost a single adult over it.
Nice.
Just one I can think of. Well, maybe he's been here since then. But
I don't think it was direct.
Yeah. He left anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
So one of my favorite stories of yours is your brown belt promotion.
Oh, okay.
So with as much or as little detail as you want to give us, can you walk us through that one?
Okay.
I know there was video of it, but I haven't seen it in a long time.
I can't find it.
It's been scrubbed.
No, I really wish I had that role. It was because it was a good role, but so one of Eddie's purple belts, Fuge, they used to call him the Fugitive because he had a really good jailbreak. So they called him Fuge. I think that's why they gave him the name. But
I always thought that was just his name.
No, it was a nickname. But he was a really smart kid. I don't know. He was like a chemical. I don't know. He was really smart. I don't want to give him
one of those
job
engineering dorks.
Yeah, one of them.
I don't want to, but I don't want. Yeah, I don't know. He was really smart from what I heard. He's like a kid genius or something. And so he and I are drilling, and I remember Eddie's like, "Be ready," and I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Be ready. You guys are gonna battle." And I was like, "Okay." And then like Fuge's eyes got real big. And I was like, his eyes got real big, and I was like, "Oh." I thought, "Oh, hey, this guy's nervous." So it gave me a little confidence, and then Eddie's like, be ready. You guys are gonna battle right now. So Eddie's like, Burbank and Burbank and LA, get over there, because Eddie was in between spots too. So he was between Tap Out and, I don't know if he was between Legends and Tap Out. I don't remember, but he's like, get over there on that side of the wall, and then Phoenix, you get on the other side. And Phoenix, it was just me and my crew, so it was like 4 of us or 5 of us.
So you had just made a trip out there to go train?
Yeah, we went to train, and yeah, we went to train. I don't think we did a tournament. I think we just went to train, and we went to train, and then Eddie would always do that. Like he would make us square off against one of his guys just to see where we're at. I was like a test, and I always loved that. I would never like, he'd be like, roll with this guy, and I'm like, okay, because I was like Eddie's soldier, and I was like, okay, I'll roll with him, and I'd go. And he's like, you're gonna roll with Fuge? I said, okay. And then me and Fuge just sat down, we squared up, and then we started rolling. And then I want to say he swept me or something, and he was winning like 2-0 or 4-0. I think he got like 2 sweeps or something, and we'll give him 4. So he got 4-0. And then I'm like, man, I got to turn it on this guy. So I ended up like, I think I swept him, and I passed his guard, and then I mounted him, and he's like, oh shit. He's like, Botello, you're up 9-0 or something like that. And then I keep on attacking him. So I'm attacking him, and next thing you know, it's like 22-4. And then I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, I want to tap him, but at the same time, I didn't want to feel like I was being a jerk because I was up so much. And then I just heard Eddie say, you can't win on points. You guys got to tap each other. He's like, we ain't winning on points here. So then I'm like, okay. So then I pass his guard again, and then I take his back. And when I take his back, I just think, oh, I could attack his neck, but in my head, I'm like, just take the money and run. So I roll him over on his stomach, and I pull the top of his head, like his forehead, and I pull it up, and I have a body triangle in my knee. So the body triangle adds a little extra oomph to the rib cage, and it hurts really bad. It hurts your spine and your stomach. So when I pull his head up, it's like a spine crank. It's called the Iron Sheik. It's called the Iron Sheik. And instead of pulling on his forehead, I had my hands on his mouth and his nose, so he couldn't breathe, and I was just pulling up on his head, and he tapped. And he tapped, and he got mad, and he threw his mouthpiece. And then he walks out of the back of the gym out of Burbank, and he's like, everybody's clapping, yeah, and he throws his mouthpiece, and he's like, Fuge, where you going? And he's like, good match, Sean. I said, thank you. And then the next day, Eddie gives me my brown belt. But yeah, and I was like, I even asked Eddie, like, I was like, am I a dick because I tapped him? And he's like, you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to tap him. And I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know. I just felt like it was like running up the score if I did it.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, you're supposed to do that. I was like, okay.
That's awesome.
I feel like you don't hear a lot of those stories anymore.
Yeah, no. That's great.
But there are the times when I would go to LA and I'd get my butt kicked by somebody he put me with.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of times that I went up there because when he gave me my brown belt, you hear him because there's a video of me getting promoted to brown belt. You could hear him at the end when he gives me my brown, he goes, it's about damn time. That's what he says. I was like, oh, thank you. I would always get in my head. I would always get in my own head because I would always think that I always wanted to finish it fast. I never wanted to like just take my time and like wear the guy down, and I always wanted to just go. And when I would do that, my needle would be on red, and the guy would just be relaxing, and then I'd be like fucking dead tired, and I'd get beat. So
it's funny how often we hear that change in philosophy, right? We've heard that now. This is at least the second time we've heard it from people who just come in to visit us, right? Like you don't have to pin it to red every time.
Yeah.
Right.
And like when I did the Abu Dhabi trials, I went against Jeff Glover. Shout out to Jeff Glover. I love you. He taught me that lesson too. Because when I tied up with him, I was like, oh, I'm stronger than him. I can get him. Yeah. And then he just fucking wizard, and he just inverted, swept me, put me on my back. And when I got up, he already had the vice grip, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get darsed. And I was like, I can't get darsed. So then I started defending it, and then he switched to the guillotine, which was a great switch, by the way, because when he switched to the guillotine and he went to full guard, he made me think that I was going to get swept. So I put my hand out, and when I put my hand out, he just tightened the guillotine more. And I was like, oh, damn it. And then you just hear Epstein going, 2-on-1, John, get your hands in 2-on-1. And in my head, I was like, it's already tight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just trying to, I'm like, fucking, and I tap. So he beat me inside of a minute. But the thing with Jeff was I got in my own head because I put too much like emphasis on doing well and like performing and like going after him than I did about just playing my game. And for a while it ate at me. Like it ate at me so much that I didn't compete for a little while. I competed after that, but for a little while it was just in my head. I was like, fuck, dude, like, because sometimes when you put so much into a preparation and you just go in there and you shit the bed. Well, I wouldn't say shit the bed, but you go in there and you just don't feel like you did as well as you should have. It wears on you, and you're like, damn, man, like maybe I do suck,
Yeah.
you know. And then you go in there and you go to a next tournament and you do well. You're like, okay, it just fluctorates.
Yeah.
And
I've told that story here. Like again, obviously not at that stage, but like training my ass off more than I've ever trained in my life, in great physical shape, and then went out and like might as well had the guy just like sit on my chest the entire time, like just completely shit the bed. And like just how dejected. I remember like going to the gym the next day. It was Saturday. I went to the gym on Sunday. And like, you know, we're doing our drilling and then we're start rolling. And I was like, I don't even feel like rolling, right? Like I was just so like in my own head about how shitty it was. But looking back now, obviously it was a pretty big learning experience, right? Yeah. But
and then you look back at Jeff Glover at that time. That's Jeff Glover in his prime.
Yeah. And that's
won the trials. I think he placed the ADCC that year, right?
He got Hobbs and Mora with the same guillotine, so I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel bad at all. But yeah, the thing too though is you want that competition, Jeff. You don't want in-house playing around Jeff. Like he plays around when he rolls anyway, like live, but you want the Jeff that I'm trying to make it to Abu Dhabi, not the Jeff that I'm just doing this to mess around, you know?
Right.
So that's what I got. And thank you for the lesson.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Right. Do you encourage a lot of competition with your students today?
Yeah, I like. Well, it's not for everybody, and I get that. But at least try it a few times, just so that way you could see if it is for you or not.
Yeah.
And you know, you might do well. You might not do so well.
Yeah.
But if anything, just go out there and just try to do the things you've been working on. If you go in there and if you go in there and you're just like, well, I'm just gonna go in there and see what happens. Well, you could do that too, but don't get all bent out of shape when something doesn't happen, when something doesn't go your way. You know. I think we mostly get beat by the stuff we don't work on. So like you, if the guy was sitting on your chest that whole time, it's probably because you didn't have mount escapes.
Right.
You know, like so then you go back on Sunday and you go, well, let me escape the mount. Right. So then that's what you need to work on. And I think that's the lesson that should be taken from competition is, okay, where did I get stuck? Where did I get tapped? Like I did a fight to win. It was a rematch. I went against this guy, Doug Moore, when I was a brown belt. He was a black belt. And I did pretty well against him, brown belt. And then I did okay. And he ended up Kimuraing me. But I had some moments, some flashes of good stuff when I went against him as a brown belt. And then when I went against him as a black belt, I wanted the match at 145 or 140, and he wanted the match at 150. I was like, well, fuck, I don't care. 150, I just want a match.
Yeah.
So I did the match at 150, and he cut, I don't know, I want to say, 16, 18 pounds. Because when you saw us next to each other, he was noticeably bigger than me. And I didn't care. I was like, whatever, I just want to roll. So we rolled, and I was on defense the whole time. My defense was working, which is fine. And I was like, okay, this is working live. This is working live. Okay, oh, that escapes work live. Okay, so it gave me that little bit of a reassurance that I'm on the right path as far as technical, right? As long as technically I'm on the right path. Sorry, yeah, technically I'm on the right path. So I was gaining confidence in my technique. 4 seconds left, I get armbarred. Okay. But it just goes to show, it just went to show me that, hey, I need to work on my arm bars, my armbar defense, or my armbar escapes rather. So I need to work on my armbar escapes. So that's what I took from it.
Yeah.
I was in Phoenix for that one.
I remember. All like a lot of my guys were there. And I was just happy to be out there. I was like, I just want a match. I don't care. The dude could be 180. I don't care. I just want a match.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I think it goes a long way having your students see you compete, regardless of the outcome. Mm-hmm. It gets too much in our own head. Like, I don't want to lose in front of my students, but they're just pumped to see you out there doing it.
Yeah, and at
least I am. I was excited to be out there, and I mean, a trip with the family just happened to line up with this Fight to Win, so it was cool to get to see you compete, and then all the other guys compete.
Yeah, I was happy that you guys made it. Tim, I don't know if Tim was there too. He was still in Arizona.
Yeah, Tim was still there.
Yeah,
Steele competed that night.
Yeah, he got the go-go.
Yeah,
that night.
I think Juan competed. Don competed.
Yeah, it was a good night.
It's nerve-wracking watching your teammates compete. It's like another thing when like your coach is competing, right? Because there's like a certain era or aura of like invulnerability, right? Like when we did this event up here, my old professor competed, and I was like sweating watching it, right? So it's just like a weird thing. Like I haven't seen you compete since I've been here, but it's just like a weird feeling because you're like, oh, that guy just kicks my ass every single time without mercy, right? Yeah. And then to see them like competing, it's just, I don't know, it's stressful, man. It's like a whole different thing than just even your teammates.
Yeah. But then me watching John Connors compete, I think he posted today, he's 59 years old.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, the respect for that guy, 59 years old, out there competing against guys 20 years younger than him.
Yeah.
That guy that he posted the picture of, the 260 guy, oh man, that guy, he was so big. He's like, I think he's down to 260. Like, that guy was tough. Yeah.
I don't think I'm done competing. I think I'll do it again because I want my kids to see some gold days in their dad's life. But, and I'm working my way towards it. Like I'm doing my morning workouts. I do my swim sprints. I'm doing those things, but nothing's just really come up that I'm like, I want to do that. But, and if I'm not into it, like in my head and in my heart, then I just won't do it. And it's just like these days, I'm just not into it. And I don't want to just put myself out there and not give it a full go. Cause then I'll have a lackluster preparation and I'll have a lackluster performance. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You owe it to yourself to do it the way you want to do it. Because
then if I go out there and I'm not feeling it, then I'm going to go out there and I'm not going to take it as serious as the guy that's taking it serious. And then they're hooting and hollering when they beat me, and it's going to be my own fault because I didn't put the preparation in.
Yeah. Let's talk about hooting and hollering. One of my favorite topics. What's your take on, because it's interesting, right? You said early on, like you have seen the fledgling days of the MMA space, right? Some of these guys who are not who we think of them now. What do you think about some of the showmanship that takes place in like jiu-jitsu today?
Act like you won before. That's what I say.
Yeah.
So, it's one thing to win, but I mean, it's another thing to gloat about it. Like you won, and just because you won today doesn't mean you won't lose tomorrow. So, and I just don't. I don't like trash talk, but I know people are gonna do it, but it just. If you're gonna trash talk and then you get smashed, like it just doesn't look good.
Yeah. Yep. Amen.
Fairly consistent with our narrative across this podcast.
Yeah.
So again, another question I know the answers to, but to enlighten everybody else,
what's up?
Who else would you say has strongly influenced your jiu-jitsu style, your jiu-jitsu game?
Other than my instructors, Relson Gracie, Fabio Santos, Eddie Bravo, Relson Gracie, Marcelo Garcia, Jeff Glover. I think those are my heavy influences.
So I tell people a lot, my students, the one that sticks out to me a lot in your style is the Marcelo Garcia influence.
Yeah. Yeah, I play a lot of X-Guard. I play a lot of I love the Marcellitine.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably my favorite choke. North-South choke takes a little bit of a lead on the Marcellitine. The North-South choke is such a sneaky choke that people don't realize it's there, and it's right there. Boom, and you hit it. It's pretty easy. But yeah, why do you say that?
I still credit you on a regular basis for my strong ability to defend guillotines.
Okay.
Because you put me through so many of them.
I think you're going to see the waiter sweep.
And we've been working the waiter sweep recently and trying to get as smooth as you are at it.
That's why I got good at the Marcellitine, is because you had that fresh neck.
He tells a story now. He's like, you just taught it like recently, within last week. And he was like, my coach, John, he's like, he did this to me 25 times before I even realized what he was doing. He was doing to me.
I remember just not being able to figure out how to find base to stop the waiter sweep.
Yeah. Yeah. And then and then a lot of times what people do is they'll try to put a hand out and they'll turn, and then that's when you take the back. Or
yeah, probably been down that road.
But that's why I'm really big on telling people, when you're learning a new thing, like a new sweep or a new arm, or like a new submission or something, it's important to let the people escape eventually, like, so that way you can know where they can go in their response. So that way you have a response to their response, like, so that way you can counter their counter. Because you're not always going to get the guys that are just going to flow with you and like be smooth in your role. You're going to get the guy off the street that you're going to use this move that you've been working on for 6 months, and it works on everybody in the gym because they're relaxed. But then this guy is just going to spaz out and try to take off or like get out and just give you the spaz reaction. And when you get that reaction, you got to have something in the chamber for that. So you got to roll with all different types of rolling partners, training partners. So you get all those different, we call it default behavior. When you get that default behavior, like their immediate reaction that they're going to do, it's just in their DNA that they're going to do. You have to have something for that.
Right. Not the jiu-jitsu guy who is planning for your next move. So they don't do what they normally would.
Yeah. That way it works. That way it works when it seems like it won't work. Like he thinks he has something, like, oh, I'm just going to muscle out of this. You have something for that.
Nice.
That's what Eddie always told us. If you can run a rubber guard clinic on somebody coming in off the street, you're making progress in the rubber guard system, in the Planet system. Because that guy is just going to be like spazzing and just wanting to, like a gorilla trying to break out of a cage, and you're just holding him there with your feet in your hand, and you just got him like crackhead or something, just holding him, and he's smashing you into the ground. He's like, if you can run a clinic on that guy, you're doing good. So that's kind of like a barometer for me. Like when I see my guys working rubber guard, it's like, oh, he's rolling with that spazzy dude. All right, let's see how he's doing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Nice. So the last time I went and trained with Eddie was 2019. So I try to make it at least every 2 years. 2021 didn't happen. Pandemic nonsense. But I feel like I was very fortunate. He was just coming back from multiple injuries and starting to roll with people again, which he hadn't in a couple of years. And he was only rolling with people under, he had picked a weight. He was only rolling with the smallest guys. And I just happened to be there right when he was getting into that. So I got a whole week of getting to roll with Eddie, which people hadn't in at least 2 years.
Yeah.
It was like the perfect timing. It was completely miserable, but enlightening and game-changing at the same time.
Yeah.
It was like no matter where we started, the path led to spiderweb, arm crush, arm bar.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what I did. Yeah. It got so bad. You were telling the story earlier. He said he was going to twister you however many times, and he did it.
5 times.
He armbarred me so many times. He stopped just waiting for the tap. He'd break the grip and just let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I come back and tell that story to people, and then they're like, "Oh, well, you're taking it easy because it's Eddie Bravo, it's your instructor's instructor." I'm like, "No, there's no other way about it."
I don't know. Even if I could tap Eddie, I don't think I would. Like out of respect, like that's just me. Because like when I was training with Fabio and I was training with Relson and all these guys, not to say that I could tap them or anything, but they were older.
Right. You could use some attributes.
So they were older, and I would, and the younger guys would try to tap them, but I wouldn't try to tap them. But I would hear the older guys like not older, but I'd say the purple or the brown belts, the more seasoned guys, tell the younger guys, the white or the blue belts, hey, even if you can tap the old man, you don't tap the old man. And then I heard one of them say, you never drown the person that taught you how to swim.
Right.
So I was like, oh, okay. So then out of respect, I wanted to take the lesson for what it was, a lesson. So what I would do when I rolled with Eddie was I would do things to Eddie what people did to me in my classes. So like if he had me in lockdown and somebody would grab my left wrist, I would grab his left wrist and I would hold it the way somebody would hold mine, and I wanted to see how he would react.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That way I could learn something from the roll rather than me just trying to throw my A game at somebody.
I think that's
He'd
the
still
biggest
smash
lesson
me.
I just learned.
He'd still
really
smash me anyway, but you know, like I want to learn something from the roll. I don't want to just have him counter all the things that I've been working on. I want to give him the lesson, the trouble I have when I roll with my guys.
That's a great story. Yeah, that's a great story.
Big lesson.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever thought of
doing that.
No.
No, I'm just like, I want to crush Pat as quickly and as viciously as I possibly can.
Yeah.
No, that's not entirely true, but I'm more thinking about surviving.
I just felt super fortunate for that opportunity because I know he had been through, like, he had the back surgery, the knee surgery, shoulder surgery. I just happened to be there at the right time, and none of us are getting younger, so.
That's right. Yeah, so it'll be good. Are you going to the thing in May?
Mm.
No. He said brown belt.
I know.
Brown belt can go.
Timing didn't work, but I do need to get out there soon.
Yeah, that'd be good. I want to go just because, like you said, none of us are getting any younger, and you know, I miss the training sessions with like Connor Hune and like Epstein, and whenever I go to LA, I try to train with Epstein every chance I get because we're from the old school, like the Bomb Squad, and you know, I respect the guy, and he always has great knowledge. He's always been a great friend, so I go out there and I try to spend some time with him.
I always appreciate Scott. If he's within driving distance around here, I always try to go see him.
Yeah.
And when I go to LA, I try to take a night or two to go over and catch his class.
Yeah. Yeah. He's always been like a really good resource whenever anything came up. Even when like we'd be back in the day, there was the forum, the Underground. You ever heard of it?
Yep.
The Underground. People would go on there sometimes and bash me, and Epstein would be right there like, nice. Fuck you, John's legit. Like I love that. But yeah, he's always had my back, and anytime I'm in LA, I always try to spend some time with him.
And he has French bulldogs.
And he has French bulldogs.
Yeah. I mean, he was the originator. He was the connoisseur of 10th
When I was there, he tried to make
Frenchies.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over, but when I was there, he tried to make me sit in the back seat so his dog could sit in the front. I was like, I ain't sitting in the back, bro. He's like, get in the back. The dog's in the front. I was like, nah, man, I know you're playing, dude. I was like, stop playing.
Do you have Frenchies too?
No,
Oh,
but he does.
Okay.
But he tried to give the front seat to the dog,
yeah.
and I was like, nah.
Yeah. Who else has Frenchies that are
I mean, so many 10th Planet dudes have Frenchies now.
really?
Yeah.
So is that why you did it?
It wasn't,
just
but
following
it
the
just
plan.
it just fit.
Would we say his name should have been today? Spicy
McHaggis of the Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah. Spicy. That'd be a great name. Yeah.
So I think it's about time to put John in the hot seat with our stock questions.
Yes, I'm very curious to hear
Stock
the answers
questions.
to these.
Yeah.
We have some things we like to ask everybody who
Okay.
comes in. It's fitting for you. One of the things that we ask, and we've talked about it amongst ourselves, and we generally ask everybody who comes in is, what do you tell people you do who don't know you, right? You're meeting some guy for the first time. What do you tell them that you do?
Well, it all depends on where we're at. Like if we're at a bar, and they say, "Oh, you're cauliflower. You used to fight, huh?"
Yeah.
Jennifer will attest to this, that she laughed every time I say this. I say, "No, it's a natural deformation that I've had since I was a child, and I really wasn't thinking about it till you brought it up." But thank you.
That's awesome.
And they're like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." And so that people will do that, or there's been times when I say I'm a football coach. I'm a special teams coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like to run in and I get hit with the helmets without a helmet on. But I tell them I'm a martial arts instructor. Okay. That's what I tell them most of the time.
Then do they immediately follow that up with, oh, so you can kick my ass?
Sometimes. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm not here for that. I'm just having fun, man. Have a good time.
Yeah.
I'm here in peace.
Yeah.
He's a veteran in the game of telling people what he does.
Yeah. Usually we both have commented that we just kind of like turn away. Like, no, I don't know, dude. Don't ask me what I do. Like, I don't have an answer for you.
The ears give it away. A lot of times they're like, oh, you used to fight, you used to wrestle, huh?
Yeah.
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 But it all depends on where we are.
Yeah. I want to diverge a little bit. So speaking of where you are, so we were talking a little bit before we got on camera about music, right? We said we would table this.
That's right.
Table this for the future discussion.
Okay.
So you were just recently at Manchester Orchestra.
Yes.
You said it was a kick-ass show. Yes. Wearing his Manchester
wearing
Orchestra sweatshirt.
Sweatshirt, yeah.
That's right.
I had to get a hoodie.
When did you discover those guys?
Probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. Fairly recently then.
Yeah, it was late at night and I was just sitting around having some beers and I just put Spotify on random, Spotify or Amazon, one or the other, on random, and I put it on the Cure station. So I was like, okay, a few Cure songs came on, cool, and then this song called "I Know How to Speak" kept coming on like every other night when I would be there listening to the Amazon, and I was like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. And I'm like, who are these guys? So then I was like, I dove in and I was like, I clicked on artist. So the artist, boom, and then I just played their hits. I was like, let's see what they are, and I got into them. Yeah, yeah. It's very melodic. Yeah, I like it.
I was saying to John before we recorded that I remember whatever their very first single was, and now you hear them and it sounds like, wow, this band is like totally grown up into like a new, much more layered, like more mature sound. Yeah. But we were also talking about The Cure. Again, one of my favorite albums of all time. And you said your favorite album is Disintegration by The Cure. I started to tell the story, then we decided we'd save it for the pod. But I remember buying the tape. I was a senior in high school when I got it, I guess. So 91, 92, somewhere in there. And I remember opening the tape up. And I had heard The Cure before, but didn't really know a whole bunch about them. I had never purchased anything there before. And I remember on the pamphlet in the cassette, it said, something to the effect of, this recording has been mastered so that you can play it loud.
Yes.
And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. And I always remember thinking about that, because if you know that album, it's so layered, and you were talking about the intros into the music, and the song could be playing for 4 minutes before Robert Smith says a word, right? Yeah. And I just remember, this is unlike anything I've ever heard in my life, that album. And to this day, it still sounds fantastic. I could put it on today and listen to the entire thing, soup to nuts, right?
I remember.
I'm going to visit the restroom. You guys can.
Oh, yeah?
You can talk your Cure bromance. Okay.
So I remember I was in Laredo, Texas, and I was standing on a pier at a lake, and I remember I played the first song of Disintegration is Plain Song. Yeah. And it's like the chimes.
Yeah. Yeah, in the very beginning.
It's the chimes. Yeah. And then it's the chimes for 12 seconds or so. And then all of a sudden the synth comes in really strong. Yeah. And I had it loud. And in my head, it just set off like an explosion. I was like, what the hell am I listening to? And then I just started listening. And then the words came in and I heard the words and I was like, oh, damn, that's nice. And then the next song is Pictures of You. Yeah. So, yeah. So, when I heard those synthesizers come in super strong, I was like...
Yeah, they come crashing right in.
Yeah. And I remember, I can still remember where I was when I heard the song for the CD for the first time.
It's funny how that stuff sticks to you. I don't really know anybody who's a Cure fan. I couldn't tell you any of my friends or personally who's a Cure fan. But when you bring that album up with people, they're like, oh yeah, that thing. Because I think people heard... Love Song was on MTV or whatever at the time, and Lullaby. Fascination Street was there. People know those tracks. Yeah. But you listen to that whole album, that thing is mind blowing. But that thing about the play this loud always stuck out in my head, because
if you want me to walk away from a Cure conversation, it's you walk up to me and you say, "Oh, you like the Cure? Yeah, I like Friday I'm in Love," and I just walk away. Right. I'm like, no. I can't talk to you about this.
Yeah, because I remember when that came out, I was like, huh, that does not sound anything like the Cure that I was listening to then, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because I can't say that I'm a big fan of them overall. Like I like a lot of the songs, but I've kind of lost track of whatever they've been doing recently.
Yeah.
Although I did see just yesterday that they were talking about releasing a new album in the next couple months. Two albums?
Yes.
No kidding.
He said the second one is done, but the problem is the first one isn't done.
Huh.
So he says he has to lay down 4 more vocals.
Yeah.
And then that it's done.
But I heard it's dark and moody and something like that. He
Yeah,
said, right?
I guess because he had some deaths, like his dad and his mom and his brother died.
Yeah.
So it should be good.
That's good. I like the dark stuff that they've
too.
done. So yeah.
That's why I love Disintegration.
Yeah. We'll put that on. Should I add that to the rolling mix that we have?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You can go with the next question. Sorry, we're done with our bromance over
right.
that.
I literally know nothing about the Cure, so it was a perfectly timed bathroom break.
Nice. Good job.
Well,
All right.
well, I'll make you a mixtape of Disintegration. How's that?
I mean, I'm interested. I'm just not familiar.
It's a great album. One of my favorite albums of all time.
Me too.
Easily. Yeah.
I could listen. Like I like listening to it when like it's like stormy weather outside, like gloomy.
Yeah.
It just looks sad and
Yeah.
I can get down with some gloomy music, so
It's
I'm
perfect for
interested.
sitting outside at night. Maybe you got a fire. Maybe it's rainy. Maybe it's gloomy. But you don't have to even have anybody else around, and you can put that on.
like Seattle would be great.
Yeah.
Just gray all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
It's a good one.
So, what was your walkout music for that fight to win? Did you get to choose?
Yes. It was Cherub Rock by Smashing Pumpkins.
That's solid.
Yeah. I like visualize. So when I heard the song, I could visualize myself walking out to it, and I was like, I like it.
Nice.
So then I just played it.
So if you have a future event, would it be the same, or will you
I might
will you
change
think
it.
about what works for that one?
I might change it. I don't know. I like that one. I like Cherub Rock, but it might be something different. It really changes day to day.
Nice.
Because sometimes you hear a song and you're like, I like that one. I might walk it to, but like I said, it changes all the time.
Because we ask everybody this question, and we've had a few MMA fighters that have had a bunch of walkouts, and it seems like some they just have their song and it's always that, and then it seems like the majority though it's just like whatever they're feeling for that fight.
I like it's gonna sound weird, but I like Jesus Walks by Kanye.
That's a
I
good
like
one.
that one.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one.
I have a question for you. Did you know that Pat is a big Kelly Clarkson fan?
I didn't.
Huge fan.
For real? Kelly Clarkson?
That can be red.
What about her do you like? Just her vocals
Man,
or
the music, it's so good.
yeah? Is this the time for my bathroom break?
No, we're not going to bromance that about that. You and I will both go to the bathroom. We can leave that in there. Yeah. Yep. That came out during, was it when he had Kate on? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had Kate on, and we asked her what her...
We're talking guilty pleasure music.
Pleasures, that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We have made a Spotify playlist for this podcast. So I think it's Thanks for Rolling Walkouts or something like that. And I haven't added Kelly Clarkson to it, although I should. I think your actual walkout song is a different song.
Since you've been gone.
Yeah.
So you could add Cherub Rock to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll add Cherub Rock, sure.
Yeah, every guest we add their walkout song to it.
That's a good jam. I forgot about Smashing Pumpkins, but they rock.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. It's one of their faster songs.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's got a good intro, right, that builds up. Yeah.
What was your walkout song?
I don't know.
You put it on the playlist.
On the playlist, it's an old punk song called Ain't It Fun by the Dead Boys. I only know them because Pearl Jam covered another one of their tracks. But if you had to ask me today, hey, you have a super fight tomorrow, I would be up all night trying to figure out what my walkout song was going to be because it's impossible. But
I was supposed to see Pro Jam before the pandemic, and then they never canceled, but they never refunded my money either.
Oh man,
have you ever seen them?
No, but I've always wanted to.
Phenomenal.
And I haven't had the chance to. So it was supposed to be Foo Fighters on Saturday, and then Sunday, Easter Sunday, was going to be Pearl Jam. So we're gonna go see Foo Fighters, get drunk and hungover, and then come home, go to the Easter egg hunt with the kids, and then drive back and get drunk again and watch Pearl Jam. But it didn't work out because of the pandemic.
Yeah. I saw both of them at Fenway Park, actually. Two of the best shows I've ever seen. Pearl Jam was just like one of those shows that's been burned in my mind because it was so much energy and so much fun. And like, I don't even know like a lot of their more current songs, but it didn't matter. Like they just kicked so much ass. It was, definitely well worth the show.
How are these?
Really good.
Is there another one in there or no?
We have a teammate, Pete, who has seen Pearl Jam many, many times.
Yeah, he's a
Pearl
big,
Jam fanatic.
big fan. Yes.
I saw Eddie Vedder do a solo show at a festival called Innings. It's for the for Major League Baseball for spring training.
Oh,
they
cool.
do it the weekend before spring training's supposed to open. So this past weekend they had Foo Fighters there.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go. I didn't really want to go. Because I'd just seen Manchester. Well, I was going to go see Manchester, so I was like, I don't want to go see Foo Fighters. So Eddie Vedder was there, and he did a solo acoustic set, and he just played a bunch of hits.
Yeah,
he
that's
played
cool.
his hits from that movie.
Oh yeah, the one about the guy who got lost.
Yeah, that one.
Whatever that.
Yeah. Into the Wild. Into the Wild. Yeah, that he played some hits from there. He played some solo hits. He played a bunch of Pearl Jam songs. But it was great. It was a great show.
Yeah,
great show.
I love his voice. That was probably one of the first bands. So I guess you and I are around the same age. Like one of the first bands that I like was obsessed with when I was younger.
Because
like,
Unplugged.
Yeah, like Unplugged and like 10. Like I remember again getting 10 on cassette and being like, "What is this?" Like just back in the day when you'd have to call into Ticketmaster to be able to get tickets, right? Or we would go to a place called Filene's around here. I don't know if that rings a bell with you at all. Filene's was like a department store. And they would have like you could go buy concert tickets there for some reason in their customer service department, and like their line would be like all through the departments, like waiting. Like that was a long time ago. Much easier now, I guess. But yeah,
Tower Records.
yeah, right, exactly, same kind of thing. Right.
But I've never seen them, but I've always wanted to. And the reason why I got into Pearl Jam was when I saw them on Unplugged and they played Black.
Yeah.
That song always just like resonated with me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Maybe it's the emo in me.
Yeah, right. It must be. Yeah, it must be. Yeah, they were that song in particular. Sure, I
Because
still remember
on
him.
Unplugged, it was such a great performance on Unplugged.
Yeah.
I was like, what is that song?
Yeah, it was crazy, so good.
I love a little emo.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with it.
there's another guy at the gym here who
Plays a lot of emo.
Plays a lot of emo. Yeah.
It's better than Screamo. I don't like that Screamo.
Well, maybe he's
stuff.
playing Screamo then, actually. It's a lot of screaming.
Yeah, it's borderline.
Yeah. I don't know what the difference is, I guess. But yeah, I'm always like, all right, let's change this to something else. Yeah.
So I messaged you earlier asking about that venue in Providence. So I used to go to the concerts with my college roommate. I was going to say we would drag Kate along, but we would get Kate to drive us because she had a car and we could drink. So we would go to this place called the Living Room in Providence. It was this little shithole music venue. I think the building has since been demolished. But we'd go see the hardcore bands, the emo bands. It was just
Nice.
insanity.
Yeah.
And that's right around the time of that big Providence nightclub fire where a ton of people died, and we're
Oh, wow.
going to concerts at this venue that's not in much better condition than that place was.
Great White was the band. I remember they showed up. I forget where I was working at the time, some restaurant. I'm completely drawing a blank. And we were like, oh, shit, is that Great White? Like, they were the band who was playing when that place in Providence burned down.
That was like 2003?
Before that, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Is that when the pyrotechnics went bad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that was in
I want to say
Providence,
it was like maybe
Rhode
around
Island.
before 2000 even.
I thought it was like 2000. I thought it was during the time I was in college.
We could be talking about two different things, but yeah, it was a while.
Crazy.
John, do you have a favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Oh, man. It's hard.
Are you? I should ask the question differently. I should say, are you into movies? And if you are, do you have a favorite?
I am into movies. I've been watching I like the John Wick series. I like that series. Just because he runs out of bullets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
he runs out of bullets. He has to reload.
Yeah.
You know, I like the open hand stuff.
Yep.
I like that
It's a
stuff.
little jiu-jitsu in there, right?
Yeah,
You
but
see him doing some things.
I like the punch block defense and like breaking arms and
Yeah.
like standing stuff. I like all that stuff.
Yeah.
It gets my juices going, you know?
Yeah. My parents went to see John Wick 2 in the theater for some reason. I have no idea why. They had never seen John Wick 1. And my mom was like, they're in their 70s, right? My mom was like, this was the worst movie we've ever seen. I said, what did you think when you were going to go?
Right.
You were going in to see John Wick? Like
John
what?
Wick 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what were you possibly expecting? I was like, that is a very bizarre thing for you guys to be watching. So,
We're big fans of Tombstone around here.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
Tombstone.
yeah. That's what made me think of it. I was like,
We went over there. We've been there a few times.
Yeah, Jeff asked me recently if I'd ever been there. And I told him that was like the place we would bring friends and family when they'd come out to visit Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great spot. I like it.
Yeah, I was in Phoenix for work pre-pandemic, with fall prior to pandemic probably. And on my list was like, I originally thought I was going to be out there for like 3 or 4 days for work and ended up being like 2 days. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Tombstone and then I'm going to go up to Jerome. Like I had all these things that I was planning to do and didn't get to do any of them. And
Jerome is super cool.
Haven't been back to Phoenix or Arizona for that matter since then. So still on my list of things to do.
Jerome's cool. I like it.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
So that's Doc Holliday, right?
Yep.
It's a cool one.
Yeah, we sling a lot of Doc Holliday quotes around the gym.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've been trying to mastermind a Doc Holliday or a Tombstone 10th Planet rash guard. Figure out how we can make that happen.
We're trying to work on some ideas that are not just the shit you see all the time, not just the Doc Holliday silhouette.
Put the I was just fooling, and then on the bottom put I wasn't.
Yeah, right. Play for Blood, remember?
Yeah.
It's on TV every week now at this point. So it's like I've brushed up on all my quotes because I've seen it 25 times in the last month.
What about Gordan, Andre Galvao? What do you guys think of that?
Oh man, we're gonna be
We're
there.
going
right?
out for it.
Jeff's going too.
I'm going too.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Should be fun, right? I mean, like, I have no idea what to expect out of that match, right?
So that was really interesting. I think, Jeff, you and Ryan were kind of talking about getting tickets. I don't know if you were 100%.
He was 100%, and then I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll go. I don't care.
And it hadn't even crossed my mind at all. I think it was Thanksgiving morning. I'm getting ready in the kitchen with my family around, and Jen messages me. She's like, are you coming to ADCC with us? I was just like, I don't know. Like, it's cross country. There's a lot of...
Dude, it's
expensive.
So
There's logistics. She's like, well, it's a long ways out. I'll buy your ticket. You'll be able to get a hall pass from Kate in that time. I'm like, the hall pass from Kate's not the problem. It's just, I got to miss work. I got to miss the, it's just a lot of logistics. And I tell Kate, she's like, well, you don't need a hall pass. I'm coming too.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I Venmo Jen money for 2 tickets.
Good.
Next thing you know, Jeff and Ryan get tickets. So we're all going.
Nice.
That's right. I forgot you had said that a bunch of people from Phoenix were going. Yeah.
A bunch, right?
I had never been, but the production that
You guys went last
Seth
time?
and all them made, yeah, so good. So good.
And we all have good seats.
Yeah, I was overwhelmed with jiu-jitsu. I was like, I didn't know what mat to watch. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was like, you got freaking Gary Tonin and some other dude going here, and you got freaking Gio and this other guy going over here. You're like, ooh. And then, yeah, it was just, it's so many great matchups. Like all the matchups you want to see. Like if you're playing a video game and you go, I'll be Gary Tonin and I'll be, whoever. And it was so good. It was so good. Yeah. You couldn't have written a better day, a better 2 days of jiu-jitsu. It was so good.
Yeah. I kind of tend to forget about it, but yeah, I can't wait now.
Yeah, I mean, I watched all of it online last time on Flow Grappling. I'm just like jumping screen to screen trying to see all of it.
The good thing that they did was like, okay, so we were at the far left of the venue. We were at the far left, so we had mat 1, and then mat 2 was in the middle, and mat 3 was on the far end. So we couldn't see mat 3, but the cool thing that they did was that they put mat 3's screen right in front of mat 1.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
So you didn't have to look, although you could just look right there and be a boom, boom, like look up and down, which is great because they did it on the second day, but on the first day it was mat 1, screen 1, but it should have been mat 1, screen 3.
Right. You don't need to see the screen of the mat that's right in front of you.
Yeah. So that was a really cool little adjustment that they made that we all appreciated. I was like, And that made me love the event even more because they were looking out for the fans,
Where was
that
it?
aspect.
Where was it when you went?
In LA.
In LA, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're all in the good seats.
Yeah.
I think the block that we bought, we're kind of split between the two sections. I know Jeff, you and Ryan got in is it the black section?
Top of the line, baby.
know.
We're
It's
like,
the black section.
I
That's
think
down in the
we're
front.
actually coaching. That's how close we are. We're actually
But it's
coaching.
cool because like the athletes are walking around. Like Gordan was walking around with his girlfriend, and like Marcelo was walking around. I got jealous that Juan got a picture with Gabby Garcia, and I didn't get a picture. I wanted Gabby Garcia to pick me up and take a picture of me.
That'd been awesome.
Yeah, she's cool. And yeah, all the fighters were walking around, and it's always great to see Eddie and the crew there. We got to see Eddie, so yeah, it'd be a great time.
I'm excited.
She's so
We
good.
still got to make our plans.
Yeah, we
but
haven't actually booked a hotel yet, but we got to do that.
As far as the match goes, Gordan and Galvao, I don't know. If I had to put money on it, it's the match not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you never know what could happen, but I would probably tend to lean that way. Or, okay, let's say it happens. Let's say it's happening right now.
I don't think Galvao has an avenue to win.
No. Who sits first?
Gordan.
I think Gordan would sit first, but I don't think it's going to be for a while.
Yeah.
I think Gordan has the ability to get the takedown. So I think he's going to explore it
Yeah.
for as long as he needs to.
I think they're going to try to make each other carry each other's weight, and then somebody will sit.
I think Galvao's going to underestimate Gordan's wrestling ability.
Yeah.
I don't
It'd
think
be
it's going to
good.
be super exciting.
I think, yeah.
It's going to be a lot
I
of
hate to
this.
say it, but I think if Gordan sits and gets a grip, Galvao's going to run out of bounds. I just hate to say it. I just wish that there would be more engagement in those kind of like in those exchanges. Like, hey man, okay, you got a grip. Let me try to break this. Let me put my defense to the test, and let me go in here because I'm skilled and capable enough to be in these dark waters. I don't want to just run. you know?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm underestimating Andre, but just thinking back on the last super fight with
Davey
with
Ramos.
Pena,
Was it Pena?
The one with Pena.
Yeah.
I mean, there just wasn't a lot going on.
Yeah.
It was just 20 minutes of clubbing, collar ties, and I don't remember much beyond that. I think he got
That
a
was the last
takedown and won.
ADCC, right?
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say.
I just don't see that strategy beating Gordan.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Gordan fan, but
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, if we're just analyzing,
Neither am I, but
Skill
that's a
versus
super
skill.
fight. So, yeah.
I think Gordan has all the ways to win. I don't think Andre has many.
Yeah, I agree.
It's interesting that you think it won't happen. I feel like so much of that, like it's such a big name of such buildup over the last 2 years of them like barking at each other, right? Like, man, to back out of that for some reason, you've got to be like wearing your skirt, right? Like,
Yeah, but
that's,
backing out of it is sometimes easier than accepting the loss.
oh, that's true.
Because there's always, if you back out of it, there's always the what ifs.
Yeah.
Remember what you said about your students watching their teachers compete?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Be the head of Atos,
Yeah.
multiple time ADCC champ, and
Yeah.
you have Gordan talking shit, smacking you in the face.
Right.
I'd love to see it. I just, who the fuck am I? I'm nobody, But what I'm saying is, because I'm not Gordan Ryan, I'm not Andre Galvao. But what I'm saying is that I would love to see it as a fan of both of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see it just because I want to see how it turns out.
Yeah.
Any jiu-jitsu guy would want to, just like Eddie.
sure.
Everybody wanted to see Eddie Hoyler too.
Yeah.
Like we want to see what'll happen.
Yeah.
I'm just fearful that it's not going to happen. I guess as a fan, that's the fear. It's we're all going to get there and it's going to fall apart. We've already purchased the tickets. We're going anyway.
Yeah, but there's so much more happening.
Exactly.
That's
That's what the main event wasn't the selling point. For
No,
me.
I was just
It
going to say the same thing. I don't really care about them. Like, that's kind of like the cherry on top. But for the most part, I just want to see every badass jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah, it's tons of good jiu-jitsu, and all of our friends are going.
last time.
Yeah, right.
Last time, man. Like just as a guy that likes exciting jiu-jitsu, Gary Tonin was the most exciting person.
He had such an exciting performance last time.
Yeah, he's so good. so good. And I'm rooting for that guy. I really want him to do well. Unless he's going against Sam Planet, of course. But I really want him to do well, just because he works hard and he goes after it. He goes after the finish. He's not like he's like fiddle farting around, like, acting like he's going to engage, and then just wait till points and then try to do something.
He's fine with taking the loss at the expense of being exciting.
Yeah.
I've kind of lost track of him, right? He was with one.
He's fighting for the one championship coming up.
Yeah, this weekend, I think.
Is it?
And then he's going to be in ADCC later this year.
Yeah. I haven't, like, I'm so myopic when it comes to MMA. Like, I find that I don't have enough time to keep up with the UFC, let alone with like UFC, Bellator 1 and whatever else, PFL that's going on, right? Barely like pick out the people that I need to worry about.
There's just so many events.
Yeah.
It's just hard to keep up.
Yeah. I don't need a UFC event every single weekend. Like, I guess, I should say that. Like, if I'm home doing nothing on a Saturday night, it's nice to be able to turn on the UFC event, right? But like,
I watch the prelims most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know who any of the guys are, but the prelims are usually pretty solid. I haven't bought a pay-per-view in 2 years at least.
Yeah. But back in the day, like, it was great because there was like build-up.
Once a month, building up to this big fight.
Even like 3 months, 6 months. Like back in the day, like, it was great because then there was build-up. There was the press conferences and everything was great. But now it's like, oh, he's got a press conference again, or he's at a press conference. It's not as exciting.
Yeah, I think the pay-per-views were at the end of every month, right? 12 a year if they had that, maybe.
Yeah, one a month was the pay-per-view schedule, and there were no other events in between.
Well, that's when it went mainstream. Before that, it was like every 3 or 4 months.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You were talking about kind of those guys when they were early on. And I can remember like 99, 2000, somewhere in there when like UFC 1, 2, 3, whatever it was. And I remember the only way that I knew who Ken Shamrock was, we were talking about his brother, but like I remember watching WWE, whatever it was at the time, and them calling him like the world's most dangerous man. And I was like, who is this guy?
He was doing the most shitty toe hold.
Yeah. I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, who is this guy? And then like kind of leading into the UFC, right? I was like, man, this guy's a savage. Like, who is this dude?
That's when he came back and fought Tito.
Yeah. Yeah. So funny, like how old that was now.
I remember 10 years ago training with John, and you always saying that, you weren't really into MMA, you weren't really into the UFC. I was like, that's fucking weird. And now I find myself telling my students the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, anything above lightweight I didn't watch. I watched BJ Penn. That was it. Because BJ Penn was a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
And he's
even just tonight when we were up there, I'm hearing what he's saying. I'm like, I thought I made that up myself. Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm just repeating what I've been told.
Yeah.
What?
Just
things.
Whatever you were explaining to the guys. I'm like, damn it, I explain it the same way.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just try to get it. I try to just get the point across, to where everybody could understand it. Some people like to use $10 words or $5 words. I just put it out to where where people will understand it.
Yeah. When I've helped, you said a little bit about this to Ryan today, but like when I've helped, whether it's like teaching a class here or like helping Ryan in class with like, sometimes someone brand new comes in and it's like, all right, well, you got to go show that guy how to shrimp before we can do something else. And I always think like when I'm explaining something, like, God, that helps me more than anything else, right? Like me being able to explain what I'm doing, like, man, I can only actually do this 5% of the time, but at least in my head, I know exactly what the steps are, right? Like such a huge difference, like being able to do that with someone.
I pointed that out last night. I did, my standard, two of you show me, recap what we worked on tonight. And one of the guys that raised his hand and volunteered was a new guy that's been with us 2 or 3 weeks. And he was on the side of the drill that was doing most of the work, and he talked his way through the whole thing. I'm like, no shit, brand new guy volunteers to show all of us and does a solid job at it.
Yeah, when you can explain it. Was that guy with glasses? Ryan? The new Ryan?
No, Joe.
Oh, Joe, yeah.
Yeah, you helped him.
Yeah, good for him.
Good job.
I mean, I'd be hiding behind everyone I could find to not have to.
Some people don't like that.
I hide from everybody now. Are you kidding me? I don't want to do it now.
Some people don't like that, though. Like, they're like, I don't appreciate you calling me out like that. I was like, you volunteered, bro. What are you talking
Eddie
about?
put me on the spot one time. He's like, all right, today's D warm-ups. Pat, you want to show us all? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know all this.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't have to have it memorized. I'll call it out and just do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah. You know the lingo.
Yeah.
So you should be able to do it.
Just put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about like recalling it and like talking it through. Like I was when you were talking about, you're walking around on the ship or whatever and like kind of going through the scenarios in your head. I was thinking like, yeah, man, just being able to like say, oh, you put your hand here and a cup of this and use your hamburger grips, right? Like that.
Well, you got it easy. He didn't make you roll with nobody. He didn't go, Pat, why don't you roll with so-and-so?
Yeah, right. Right.
I do that sometimes too.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, Eddie's done that too. He makes me roll with the Russian dudes.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
want to roll with those guys.
Yeah.
I can't tell if we're friends or we not
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're saying nice words to me, but your stone cold face is telling me otherwise.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, there was one time I was showing a rubber guard defense and Eddie's like, okay. He's like, I did it and it worked. And then he goes, hold on. Do it on this guy. He's got a really good rubber guard. Do it on this guy. And so I did it and it worked. And he still didn't believe in it. I was like, God damn it, Eddie, what do I got to do?
It's funny to hear you imitate him because I can like hear him saying exactly the way that you're.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, he does that. He does that all the time.
It's really funny.
Do it on this guy.
Pushing on 2 hours, dude.
2 hours, man.
Yeah.
All right. So, John, before we wrap it up, you want to give any plugs for your school?
Where do people find you?
Find me at on Instagram at John Botello, JOHN BOTELLO, and then also at 10th Planet PHX on Instagram. And then if you want any information as far as like visiting the school or coming through to try a class, send an email to info@10thplanetphx.com.
10th Planet Phoenix has been putting out some solid content on Instagram, so definitely
Thank you.
follow those guys for some high quality video going out. And I always make sure to reshare it and put it up on our YouTube screen in the gym. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Did I miss anything?
No.
I'm sure there's others.
I appreciate you not actually asking what the name of it is. Just
I was about
look
to
for us.
say follow us on Instagram at the studio 10th Planet Springfield.
That may not be right,
I
but
think it's right.
yeah, okay.
At the studio 10th Planet Springfield. If it's wrong, let us know.
Just look
We'll
it up.
fix
10th
it.
Planet Springfield, the studio. You'll find it. It's not a big deal.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Blast.
Appreciate you coming by.
Thanks for having me.
See you, everybody.
Peace.